Hey everyone, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel, and this is your daily Uncut news. So we got to start with Tesla because it's the most exciting stock in the market. It's up, it's down, it's got a crazy CEO doing crazy stuff, and there's always news on this thing. So we can take a look at the chart here. I was just looking at this. If you're unlucky enough to buy this on, say, November 5th, at the very, very top, that would have been last year. It's down about 40%. However, overall, just to be fair, because I don't think everyone bought at the top, the past year's performance has been about 7.5% down, so roughly flat. It's just really been the last month or so or something like that. It's hit about a 20% dive. And one thing that's always concerned me about this one, and I mentioned it several times, is the forward P, I think, is a bit high. And also to just ask yourself this fundamental question. In a rising interest rate environment, right, where interest rates are going up and also heading to recession, do you think people are going to be like, you know what? I want to buy an expensive car. I'm all about buying a Tesla. And as competition ramps up, right, there's going to be a lot of competition. Do you think people are like, you know what? I still want to pay 20% more for a Tesla than, say, a Hyundai, or then, say, just for example, Ford, just for example. Or do you think, like, for example, when, say, BMW rolls out their cars, or Polestar, which I've driven, rolls out their cars, do you think people are going to be like, you know what? I still think Tesla's the best car, and that's for, certainly for you to decide. I will say, when I talk about Tesla, I think they have good technology. I myself don't like the way the cars look, but I think they have good tech. However, I mentioned in these sort of risks coming forward, be it competition, be it rising interest rates, I do think something to take consideration. And when I mentioned that, we have a forward P of 54, and for me, that's a bit high. I could see forward P of 30 as being reasonable for something like this, because I do think they're growing. But it's all going to be, what's going to happen with this whole Twitter deal, and what the heck Elon Musk wants to do with the company, because you never know these days. This is why it's fun to talk about, because there's always some crazy news. One thing that is going on right now, if you guys know, I'm sure you heard. I think Musk's lawyers told Elon, hey, dude, I don't think you're going to win that lawsuit. You better just buy Twitter. And so now the way that they're spinning it is he's trying to, like, oh, you know what? My plan all along was to buy Twitter. I was just messing with you guys. And, that kind of stuff I think is messed up. I think it should be obvious he was trying to get out of it, and then now he's forced into it. Now he's got to respin it. If you guys, I guess if you want to play the bullish case, you say, no. Elon Musk was just playing around with this, right? He had it all along. He wanted to buy Twitter. I mean, I guess you can make that case, but I think it's pretty tough to make that case when you're paying for lawyers to do that thing, to do your, quote, master plan. And it's interesting, too, the reports have been coming out about Musk and a bunch of texts and stuff among his friends. I haven't read through all these texts, and I'd be curious if you guys have, like, literally read through all these things, but I haven't done it. However, I can read summaries of these things, because I don't want to sit there and read a bunch of text from people. And these are the summaries, actually. It's quite interesting. It gives a good look inside to Elon. If you guys know, we went to the same school. I don't know him personally, but I know a lot of people who do know him. So anyway, this was the text coming out of this sort of summary. Hundreds of text messages give insights into Elon Musk's brand of leadership. He's surrounded by friends and foes who make direct appeals to his ego to get things done, whether that's asking for a way into one of Musk's deals, a policy or product they'd like him to enact at Twitter, or a job at the company for them or their offspring. It's really funny. So basically, like, everyone's emailing Musk all the time, basically saying, hey, I got a business deal for you. Do you want to do it with me? Or, hey, can you get my kid a job? Or, hey, would you like to donate money for XXX, right? So it's this happens, obviously. I'm sure you guys know this. If you have a ton of money, people come knocking your door all the time. It's just going to way as it is. And this is something that, too, also to be prepare yourself if you ever, get to that position, is that you really want to have a trusted circle of friends to be around, because the more money you get in life, the more sort of faker friends that you're going to have. And that's a real thing. And probably one of the best things that a person can do early on is essentially, and this is sort of the best advice. I should make a separate video of this, but marry someone you really, really love and that loves you, and marry them at a time when you have zero. Because as things change, obviously everything changes, and so you want someone who likes you for you, not likes you for your money. That is a real thing. And that is probably one of the best advice. And I should talk about that kind of stuff more. One of the things that is interesting about the whole Musk thing is he's painting his sort of new Twitter thing, the X app. It had to be X, right? And it's sounding a lot like the Chinese WeChat. And it's interesting because if you guys don't know, WeChat is in Shenzhen. That's Tencent. That's where they're based out of. And I used to live in Shenzhen, and it's funny because I have a friend who worked there. I think I say worked. I don't think he works there anymore. And it's fascinating because Tencent's one of the companies that isn't really traded on the U.S. market, whereas an Alibaba or Neo are. So they're way more popular. But Tencent's a legit company. I mean, every Chinese person's got WeChat. It's hard to explain like how big it is. If you were to talk about, say, Korea, Naver is a huge company, or Kakao, if you know these kind of companies. I'm just saying there are other internet companies out there that you may not even heard of that are really dominant. Kakao is making tons of cash here in Korea, and then Tencent making a ton. And so if Elon pulls this off, hey, yeah, that's a great business thing. I personally, my personal feeling is on this is stick to Tesla. Make that company well run, et cetera. Focus on cars. Anything that splits your attention, I think it hurts Tesla. And so this is something where I was talking to you guys before about how to evaluate tests and stuff like that. I don't think we'll know the true what's the right word to say drain on Tesla until this thing starts rolling. I mean, he's forced to buy this thing, so we'll see what happens. Maybe he tries to sell it or whatever. But I think this is a real concern. I think a human being, no matter how much you love Elon Musk, only has so much time in the day. And remember, plus these people have to deal with so many people, asking you for money all the time. So anyway, but according to this, though, the basic gist of it is the Musk is trying to go for fintech, which is kind of interesting. And yes, fintech is a real thing, guys. It is a real thing. So I'm not saying that Musk things talking about being like WeChat is bad or anything of that stretch. It's more like, can he really pull this thing off? And one thing that has always been a criticism about Elon, he's master at marketing and essentially vaporware. And there's a long list of stuff that hasn't come out. And if you're like, Chris, what are you talking about? Well, I mean, just look at the robots. So, and I know the bulls will say, well, Chris, just wait 20 years. It's going to happen. All right. Well, good luck to you. The other top news today, I would say, is the OPEC deal. Basically, they're going to cut production. We knew this was coming. This was double, though, what I had originally thought. So the early reports is that they're going to cut production by like 1 million. I think where I was reading, 2 million daily was sort of the production. And that's a big deal, actually. And one of the things that I think is a problem with this is it helps Russia, right? The U.S. is already coming out making some statements. This would be from the White House, but to be frank, I don't think it's really going to do much. This is something I've said several times on this channel. And until we get really serious about cutting off foreign supplies, I mean, the U.S. is going to get tied in all sorts of stupid wars and stupid relationships in the Middle East. And I do mean stupid. Like, it's just you can't convince me that being dependent on Saudi Arabia is a good thing. You can't convince me that. You can't convince me that Europe being dependent on Russia is a good thing. You can't convince me of that. And so I know I repeat the same thing over and over again. It's like beating a dead cat or a dead horse, but I'm just going to say it anyway. The USA, really needs to focus on developing, say, new energy technology. You could also argue it needs to develop on some way of, drilling clean for oil, right? I can get that. But I don't think it's crazy to say, hey, develop better energy technology, give American jobs, make American jobs, how you want to say it, and then sell that technology to the rest of the world and make money doing it. So I'm not saying crazy stuff. And it's such a ridiculous thing that's not a number one issue for politicians. The reason why it's not is just there's too much money going into pockets of people, and this is both sides. So until the politics get serious on this thing, I'll always be a bit, I guess, what's the right word to say, critical of American politicians because I've seen this stuff for years that we're dependent on OPEC, and not talking crazy stuff, guys. The other thing is too is like where are the markets heading? What's going on with the markets? It's all about interest rates. What's the Fed going to do, right? That's basically what's the cost of money. Are they raising? Are they lowering? What the heck are they doing? Where's inflation? These kind of stuff. And these are some interesting projections. And so part of the trick is, okay, where's the bottom? It's like, well, when is the Fed going to stop raising interest rates, right? And one of the things that is going on right now is that you see a lot of projections flying around. So this is just one chart. If you take a look at this, I feel like everyone's kind of thinking next year is when things really start to change in terms of like, they're going to stop raising. They're going to stop raising rates like crazy. Some people predict, maybe there's going to be 125 basis points from here perhaps. And then you're looking at, first quarter, mid quarter 2023. You just don't know because see the thing is the Fed wants inflation to go down to 2%, and we're still a long ways from that. So. This is just something that I do track, and there's a bunch of numbers that we do track here, and this is sort of what we'll be looking at together. One of the things that I think is important is, every single Wall Street bank keeps moving their price targets around for the S&P. This is one I was looking at. I can't remember which one. I think this might have been Bank of America or something, but they were aiming for like 3,900. Another one was 4,000, and then I've seen this is my S&P here because we're trading like around 3,700, which is essentially the lows from last year, or no, sorry, last from June, the lows of the year I meant to say, and where is this thing going to end up? I'll just say like I don't feel like the upside's great, so regardless of where we're going to end up exactly, I just don't feel like the upside's that great. Even here, like I said, I think this was Big America. They're saying maybe got 3% up from here, and it's hard to stay bullish when you actually can read this stuff and see what all these economists are kind of predicting. The growth for the world isn't so grand. The WTO, this is the World Trade Organization. They're only predicting what is it saying? It was like a 1% increase in trade in 2023. So kind of flat. So no one seems to be predicting crashy crash. It doesn't necessarily mean that's not going to happen. One of the things is like there's just always some crazy thing that could happen in the world. Like, is Credit Suisse going to melt down our markets? Is Russia going to do something stupid? Is China going to do something stupid? So you just don't know. So that's part of the market is always risk. But at the moment, though, forecast if you ask banks, but obviously banks want you to they want you to give them money. They're going to try to paint the rosiest scenario possible, and then on the other side, people who essentially YouTube TV is entertainment. They'll try to paint the most crazy side to the downside possible because that's entertainment. And it's kind of funny if you go on YouTube. The like most popular YouTubers, like every thumbnail is like really sad, like that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. In terms of stocks, it's funny because. Probably, and I'm just talking about sort of myself. My biggest mistake this year was just not YOLOing on Occidental, and it is having quite a run. It's up 100%, and this is something true, guys. If you try to do a YouTube channel, and if you talk about good stocks, you're not going to be a very popular channel. I'm just telling you out. They're not going to be a very popular channel, and this is how I know that often YouTube is a clown show, and it's kind of frustrating if you do this stuff, but you got to accept it. That's YouTube. Most of your audience, they want to know about Dogecoin and crypto, and they want to follow Kim Kardashian, right? So that is what it is. But for reals though, Occidental has been one of the best stocks on the market, if not the best one in terms of your safer kind of stuff. And Warren Buffett's been in this one, and so not everyone's losing all their money in the market. So my regret though was not just YOLOing on Occidental last year, but hindsight is 2020. Up 100%. Is totally fine actually. Although we did do Occidental, I've always liked Occidentals. It's been doing pretty good. You guys can see it's up 30% in the past year. Lockheed Martin's another one I like as well, 50%. So I've been telling you guys, weapons, food, energy, this kind of stuff. But I'm not 100% perfect. Not everything I touch is gold. The market's not that easy. I just show you guys this stuff because I don't know. People always act like everyone's losing all their money. And the reason is that you're hanging out with the wrong friends. It's just how it is. I wasn't exactly killing it with realty income, but you know what? It's got a dividend now. Where's it at now? 5%. It's only down, 7.5%. You're flat. It's fine. You're doing great. Probably my worst one out of the safe ones this year was Verizon. Just not that great. You can see it down here. And last year, down 27%. But it's got your dividends at 6.5%. So it's not like you'd losing all your money. But it hasn't been that great, to be honest. And the thing about Verizon is, and I'm also talking to you guys about just if you're interested in YouTube and stuff like that. I actually knew about T-Mobile. And I was looking at the phone stocks at the time, and this is part of when you do YouTube. Part of the struggle of life is your own stubbornness, and also too part of just the entertainment factor is at the time I was only picking stocks that had dividends, right? Because I was just like trying to demonstrate a certain kind of thing. And so one of the things that is different to where if you were to say manage money privately or manage money for other people or on your own, etc., you may not have those necessarily kind of rules opposed to telling everyone, hey, I'm only going to do X kind of stock, et cetera. So the idea though was to demonstrate, how dividends work, that kind of stuff. But yeah, T-Mobile actually hasn't been a bad one. The last year it's up 12%, and basically what I think what's going on is a couple things. So one is Verizon and AT&T, that they're losing market share to T-Mobile, and T-Mobile has just been a little bit better on managing their company. I think it's something that simple. So I just show you this stuff because not everyone is losing all their money in the market, and some people can do really well. Like I said, my regret though, even though like I said, I think we're doing fine over here, was not going really heavy into Occidental, but it is what it is. I'm not perfect 100%. One thing too though is that the 2-year is above 4%, so it's hard to stay bullish on stocks when you see this thing. The thing is like, do you want to risk downside in the market? I get it that some of the banks are telling you, oh, we're doing fine, we're going to rally from here. I still think things are bearish, but as I mentioned before, say with Tesla or anything, at least you're not at the top. That's the important thing to understand. The 10-year is at 3.62, so 2 years above the 10-year. We're still signaling for recession. The S&P 500 ratio, we're looking at 19.12. The average is around 16, so we're still trading a bit high in terms of historically. And the other thing is too, we're looking at slower growth going into recession. So we're not at the top by any stretch, and you guys can study these charts for yourself. But who knows? I can't tell you exactly what we're gonna do, and but I can tell you like kind of where we are. At least you have a general sense of where we are. Because I don't like it when people say, "Oh, just buy every month." I don't think that's good advice. To be very frank, because I can read charts, and you guys can too, because we do this every day. So, the best thing I would say is watch the video I did recently about data and markets and stuff like that. That might help you understand this stuff better and my thinking on these things and why we look at this stuff every day or time to time, I guess you'd say. Unemployment's at 3.7. That's not going to change, right? We're going to keep an eye on this one. Actually, it is going to change. It's going to go up, but it hasn't changed since the last time we looked at it. But it'll probably go up to like 4.5%, 5%, something like that. Inflation currently, the current read is 8.26. So that one's going to be tricky. Come winter, I think energy prices are going to go up. So this is going to be a tricky. What's going to happen with this thing? Your guess is good as mine, but I don't know actually. But I would say I think it's going to be elevated because I think rents will stay high, wages will stay high, energy is probably going to go up. I mean, what does that mean? I don't know. I don't think inflation is going to drop like crazy, so I don't think that's going to happen. But will we get like a big surprise in inflation, like going up to like 10%, something like that? I'm not sure of that. It's like I said, I'm not sure. I guess the safest route to take is say it'll be the same, but I don't think it's going to crash. What some people were calling for peak a couple months ago. I don't necessarily think so, but we'll keep an eye on this one. The one thing too, which I think is interesting, is the dollar. So if you guys know, we came to Korea, basically playing the currency. The dollar's up by basically 19%. You guys see for here. So I'm on Team Dollar. Team Dollar's been doing really well for us. It was a really really safe play. One of the things that is kind of funny, this is a real thing, is there are some people who just play the currency and that's it. Just do foreign exchange. I don't necessarily do that, like constantly trading foreign exchange. But since I've telling you guys, I've lived in 4 different countries, the exchanges matter quite a bit to business and to people who have been to multiple places. It matters really a lot. And when you're in Korea, just sharing with you guys, compared to the USA, if you have dollars, your money's worth basically 20% more. Plus, you're in a place where the inflation is lower, right? So inflation in Korea is like 5.6, and you look at USA, inflation's like 8, and food's a lot cheaper here. There's a bunch of stuff you can talk about, but I'm just saying it's definitely a better environment at the moment for people who have dollars and want to live abroad. So I've been telling you guys this for a while. If you're looking to travel, you're looking to go abroad, now is a great time because the dollar is strong. Like I would love to go to London actually, to be frank, because I have never seen the pound this low. It's like, it hasn't been. It's like 37-year low, etc. The other thing too is interesting about the markets today. I guess they were down at one point like 2%, and they just bounced right off that. So this is sort of where some of the banks are saying, you know what, things look good from here. Maybe we bottom out. That's what they're saying. I don't know about that. That's why when I look at the PE ratio and we're sitting at 19, I just feel like we're a little expensive in the market. But like again, if you're interested in stocks, we're not at the top. That's the good news. Also, too, this is sort of a trend line. They keep mentioning the 200-week moving average, and I mean, when you guys take a look at this thing, you can see it is the markets tend to do go up, right? But markets can go down, and this is sort of something that no banks don't really want to tell you. And so, like, even though it's just kind of ridiculous, and this is just how the banks are, even though things look bearish and stuff like that, they still always have price targets higher than where we are now. Because like, if they start setting price targets lower than where we are now, then like no one want to give them money, so that they have certainly interest in that. So this is sort of where you have to understand sort of when you get information from people, what's their primary interest, right? And that is a real thing. That's for anything in life, is what someone's primary motivation / interest. Also, too, mortgage rates keep going up. And, this is certainly going to put a dampering on the housing market. Let's take a look at a description of this thing. So it's kind of interesting. We'll just read through it here. So over the past 7 weeks, mortgage rates have soared 1.3 percentage points, the largest surge over a comparable period since 2003, and illustrating the abrupt upswing in borrowing costs of the Federal Reserve. So the effective 30-year fixed rate, which includes the effects of compounding, topped 7% in the period from September 30th, also the highest since 2006. MBA index of application to purchase home plummeted 12.6% to 774. That's the lowest since 215, and while the gauge of refinancing dropped 17.8% to a 22-year low. So, I mean, it's not hard to see interest rates go up. People are going to be slowing down buying houses. It's just too expensive, right? And they're going to be slowing down their refinancing. And we kind of knew this stuff was coming when I think Wells Fargo was the first bank. It was a couple months ago where they announced that they were firing people. And this is always something you want to track. That's why we track individual companies if there's big news, because it sort of gives a relation to the larger market. Also, too, regarding the old Trump data story, we got to track this from time to time, because there's always something crazy that comes out with this. As you follow the channel, you'll probably know from it was a couple of days ago they reported that some of the missing documents were communications between Trump and North Korea. That's a real thing. This is another thing that's come out where Trump was saying, no, we weren't stealing anything, nothing's going on, and we literally have emails that show different. And this is actually a bit concerning. And one of the things that I'm concerned about, this is a real thing, is I just saw this today. I guess there's been surge online of talk of civil war. So it's hard to know what to make of this stuff, and then I'm keeping it real because it's also a real thing. If you watch a video I just did, the one right before this one, talking about fake comments on the internet. So when you do see surges of kind of language, you don't know. This could just be a bunch of bots for all we know on Twitters and Facebooks and stuff like that. So who knows? However, this is the worrying and troublesome thing, though. Fake bots and fake news and stuff like that can motivate people. It's a real thing, right? And so people can bring guns to protest if they want, and they can, brandish these signs, that you have to, fight the government because it's God's will, that kind of stuff. It just takes one or two crazy people. You just don't know in this world. And so this is sort of things that is disturbing about the way the world is moving, that, essentially people believe everything they hear online kind of thing without any kind of effort or thinking. And this is something I encourage anyone out there. Please Google everything, and please, fact check as many things as you can, etc. It's not a crazy thing to do. And if your sole, thing or your sole source of information is Reddit with faceless and nameless people, I'd be real cautious about that kind of stuff. I'm not talking crazy things. It's just a normal thing, is like, do your research. But like I said, for some people, they want to believe what they want to believe, and they look for anything on Reddit from faceless, nameless people to try to reinforce that, and it is a problem. In terms of the election, though, coming forward, I still think the Republicans are in the driver's seat. DeSantis is the favorite right now. I just put these two guys because I think these are kind of the figureheads at the moment at the Republican Party. I don't think Abbott's going to run. I don't think so, but who knows? But I think DeSantis definitely wants to run. He's the favorite. I don't know anyone else that and the Republicans that would, considering. I think Kasich or Romney, you never know what they might do. They're more moderate, so I would like them a little bit better. But we'll see. On the Democrat side, I would prefer Biden not run again. I don't like Biden that much, but I don't like Democrats or Republicans. It is what it is. And, I want to mention this. It's funny because, like, when you sort of understand how the world works, you'll kind of get my point of view on these things. There's a couple movies that I would point out. If you guys have never seen these movies, I really recommend them. Game Change is about Sarah Palin. If you haven't seen this movie, it is fabulous. It's written by someone inside the campaign. So there's a lot of really fascinating stuff about this stuff, and they really give a good inside look of politics. I mean, you gotta watch these things. I'm not making this stuff up. And this is one on the other side. This one's about the Clintons, and it was also written by someone from inside the campaign. I believe, though, this one, and no one knows for sure exactly, but I believe, though, the person who wrote this actually killed themselves, which is kind of a serious thing. So this is just watch both these things, right? Yes, they're both comedies, and yes, there might be a little bit exaggerations here and there, but the overall stories are something that I think is good for people. And there's one scene in this one. There's a couple scenes in these. Actually, I don't want to ruin it. Just go see them. I don't want to ruin the scenes, but I think the best way to think about it is that when you realize that oftentimes people in the public eye, a lot of these things is just a performance. That's the way to think about it, right? These are a lot of times these people are just entertainers in a way, and it's frustrating that be it YouTube is just entertainment or TV is just entertainment, and no one really cares about information. No one really cares about stuff, and so that's why like I give example is like everybody wants to hear about whatever Tesla's doing, right? And it's sort of like you realize it's all silly stuff because no one really wants to hear about accidental. If I make it about accidental, no one's going to watch it, and I've done it before and no one watches these things. So this is sort of how I know kind of what the public and sort of YouTube world is and things of that nature. So just sharing this stuff with you, I think it's kind of funny. And if you're always curious, like, why is he always talking about Tesla? If you're smart, I think you'll figure it out. The other thing is too is, this is the world that we live in, is we're in a Kardashian world. And so you always got to figure out how to navigate that, and sort of how to reconcile being able to do business and also knowing sort of who you're doing business with. So that is the world. And also too, there's people out there that basically compromise their morals if they have any and will pump whatever. And so Kardashian was fined $1 million. I'm sure you guys heard this one already, to pump crypto. So anyway, do appreciate everyone joining us today. Thanks again for watching. And this has been your daily Uncut News.